For a long time, plug-in hybrid vehicles have only really made sense for those people that are doing a short amount of miles. For instance, most plug-in hybrids on the market, well, they do up to about 50 miles, which really is not very much at all, and especially if you can't charge at home. You have got vehicles like the Volkswagen Tiguan and the Skoda Karoq who recently have been pushing those boundaries. They now charge quicker with a CCS charger, so you can charge on the go and actually get up to that range a little bit quicker, and they also get around 70 miles. But Omoda, well, Omoda are doing what they do best, and they're showing up the rest of the industry. This is the next car into their lineup. It only comes in one specification, but luckily it's pretty enticing. This is the Omoda 9, and it has an all-electric range from the plug-in hybrid of 93 miles. Not to mention, combined with the 1.6 litre petrol engine, you actually get over 700 miles from one tank of fuel and one top-up of battery, which is really impressive. But is the rest of the car just as impressive as those figures? Well, that's what we're going to be finding out in today's video. Hi guys, I'm Tish and welcome back to my channel Auto Social UK. I've just popped down to Rayleigh Omoda to check out the Omoda 9 and spend a day with it to find out whether this is just as impressive as the JQ J7, which recently really surprised me. In fact, it was one of the most surprising cars of this year. So is this just as good? And why would you buy this Omoda 9 over the J7? Well, that's what we're going to be diving into in today's video. Also, if you wanted to check it out for yourself or take it for a test drive, then you can do that either at Rayleigh or their connecting branches. I'll pop all the details in the description box down below. And if you do like new car reviews and car content, well, you're in the right place. And actually, I've got a bit of a bone to pick. The last Omoda video I did on the Omoda 5, 170,000 people watched that video. And you know how many subscribed? Just 0.5% of you, 1,000 people. So this time I want to see more of you subscribe. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and finally help me hit that 100,000 subscriber mark. But less of that, let's talk about the Omoda 9. So first of all, I think I'm going to dive into that question. So why would you buy the Omoda 9 over the JQ J7?
At a first look, the two cars may appear to be closely competing, but after a quick comparison, it's easy to see the key differences. The 9 is Omoda's flagship model. It's 275mm longer and 55mm wider. The wheelbase is also longer, so as we'll see coming up, it offers more interior space and especially boot space. And then there's the powertrain. The 9 offers nearly double the power of the 7, and it also has a longer all-electric range. The J7 is affordable luxury, but the 9 fills in a whole new league.
I'm going to start by telling you the price of the Omoda 9, and you have to promise that you're not going to turn off as soon as I tell you the price. Okay, you ready? This is going to cost you £44,990. Okay, are you still with me? Now I promise, as we move through this video, that price is going to sound more and more reasonable. It's a bit of a sting over £40,000 to start with, but you really do get everything included on this car. In fact, the only extras that you can get are the colours. Now this white colour, this is included in the price. It's the standard colour option, and I think it works pretty nice. You can also pay £750 and you can get the pale green that we've seen on the rest of the range. You can get a silver and a black, and then if you want to fork out just a little bit more, for £1,000 you can get like a dark gunmetal grey, and they are the only options. Everything else, the sunroof, electric seats, the sound system, everything is thrown into that price of £44,990. And I'll go a bit more into the spec when we go onto the inside, but let's start by talking about the exterior design, because I think it's a pretty sharp looking car. It actually reminds me a lot of that Cadillac I drove in Cannes ages ago. What on earth happened to that? I don't think I've seen one since, but it's definitely giving me that from these lights at the front. It has a very similar lighting signature, and this car does feel like a blend of the JQ J7 and the Omoda 5 if they kind of smushed together, and that's no bad thing because you've got that kind of dappled grille in the diamond effect at the front, very similar to the Omoda 5, but then it's a little bit squarer than the 5. It's not quite as sharp, and I definitely prefer this design, especially when it comes around to the back as well. It's much simpler, much squarer, and I prefer it to the ducktail that you get on the Omoda 5. And overall, I do think it looks very handsome. You also have Omoda spelt out across this black panel. You also have a matte chrome panel which sits underneath the bonnet line, and separating the two you have a light bar which runs the whole span of the front of the car. You'll also find that gloss black and that chrome combination in a quarter panel here, and also just underneath the wing mirrors, so it's very cohesive. All models of the Omoda 9 sit on 20-inch alloy wheels, which I think suit the size of the vehicle. They could have gone for 21s, but I'm glad they've stuck to 20s. 19s possibly would have been even better for that range figure and also for comfort. But I will talk about comfort in a moment to see whether the 20s have affected the ride. It also gets pop-out door handles, which sit protruding from the bodywork, but when the car's locked or when you're driving, they will sit completely flush, adding to that aerodynamic look. Well, this is very fancy, isn't it? Feels super high quality in here. You have a lot of curves. It feels much more luxurious than what you get from the JQ J7. So the JQ felt a bit more stripped back. You had 2 square screens, and in this car it feels just a touch Mercedes. In fact, it feels a lot Mercedes, especially with these Mercedes seat controls here. So with these seats, every version gets electric seats on both the driver and the passenger. You have the controls, which you'll find on the doors there, just like you would in a Mercedes. You also have memory settings, so 3 different people can set up their driving position. You also have an electrically adjusted steering wheel as well, so that's done electric, which you don't often see. And you also get comfort access. So as you saw, when I opened the door and when I came in, it pulled the seat back, and then as I sat in it, it brought it into my driving position. It feels super luxurious, and the tech just doesn't stop there. This car is packed full of pretty much everything you could possibly need. So we've got 2 wireless charging pads which are in the front here, and these are cooled as well, and also they will charge quickly so your devices aren't going to overheat. You have loads and loads of driver convenience. We've got a head-up display, as well as pretty much every function you can think of on this infotainment system, including a wonderful, in fact, they don't even call it a 360-degree camera. I think they call it something crazy like a 560, because you get all the view and you also get a clear view through as well. So clear through view. Well, what that basically means is you can see completely surrounded the car and even underneath the car. Very, very clever spec. And also you get a very cool sound system too. So this gets a Sony sound system, and there's speakers everywhere, including built into the driver's headrest, which definitely gives you an immersive feel when you're playing your favourite music. You have an armrest in here, which is nice and deep. As you can see, it fits a large bottle of water all the way in there, and that's also cooled as well, so you have a fan that goes through there. Then this centre console, you do have this kind of glossy wood effect. Now you'll find this on this cover to your cup holders here, and you'll also find it scooped in this dash. I don't particularly like this material. It's shiny and it seems to attract dust and also scratches and fingerprints as well. It looks lovely though, and if you can keep it nice and clean, like I'm sure many owners will, it does look nice. Behind this, you will find 2 cup holders, which are actually removable, which is really handy. And then you have some storage in here, and you also have just a little bit of hidden storage, which I think is really good. There's a little bit down there. And then underneath here, you have got a USB and USB-C charge point. Now, I do find this slightly irritating because it's not on the driver's side, so you've got no chance of plugging that in when driving. And if you do have any issues where it becomes unplugged, it's a little bit irritating that it's so far away that the driver can't do anything about it. But let's face it, if you can't fiddle with it, then it's probably for the best anyway, as you shouldn't be doing anything other than driving. And then, as I mentioned, you've got the 2 sweeping screens. So these sit in this carved out dashboard, and it does feel very luxurious. They're also super clear and easy to use. There is loads of settings in here, so loads of quick controls, so you can change your driving modes, and also you can change your vehicle settings, your driver assistance and things like this. And then if you go to the home button, here is just your quick functions to everything you've used recently. You can sweep across it and it all works very well. But you can also press these little squares and that will take you to all of your different apps. Everything feels really well built as well. It's all nice and solid, there isn't any rattles. Other than a few areas which do get fingerprints, it all looks very, very luxurious. But what's it like to drive? Because I know that's what a lot of people are thinking. Let's get it out on the road and find out. I've been behind the steering wheel of the Omoda 9 for a couple of hours now and I have mixed emotions. I definitely feel more prepared for how good this car is by the JQ J7, and it definitely has a lot of refinement and punchy performance. But just like the Omoda 5 and the JQ J7, it's not without its quirks. But before I move on to the quirks, I think we should talk about the powertrain, because arguably this is where the most talking points are. This is not your usual plug-in hybrid. Yes, there's the same 1.5 litre turbo petrol engine that you'll find in the Omoda 5. However, the real workhorse is the hybrid system. So this is what Omoda and JQ call the super hybrid system. And this car has a whopping 34.5 kilowatt hour battery, and it claims a range of over 90 miles in EV alone, which actually I have been seeing close to. That really is very impressive for plug-in hybrids. In fact, the next best thing would probably be the Kodiaq or the Tiguan, which get around 70 miles in fully electric. This really is a step above the rest when it comes to plug-ins, and it makes other cars with plug-in hybrid systems from the Hyundai group just look a little bit pathetic, really. It's almost triple what those cars can do.
A key complaint of some plug-in hybrid systems is that when the battery is drained of all its electric power, you essentially have a very heavy petrol car. But the Omoda 9 does things very differently. This is where the super part of the hybrid system becomes apparent. After reaching around 30% battery, the Omoda 9 kicks into a sophisticated hybrid fallback, relying on the petrol engine to both drive and replenish the battery, turning into a self-charging hybrid. So expect it to drive like an EV, almost all of the time.
And the cabin stays pretty quiet unless the engine kicks in. And between the double glazed windows and the Michelin acoustic tyres, it's easy to have a conversation or enjoy the Sony surround system on the move. But it does have trade-off, and that trade-off is weight. This car is essentially like an EV and a petrol model put together. And normally when I'm talking about hybrids, plug-in hybrids, I'll say that the electric is a backup to the engine, but with this car it feels like the engine is a backup to the electric because you have so many electric miles. But that trade-off is weight. So put an EV and a petrol car together and then you have the size of this car, and this does weigh the best part of 2.5 tons. So how does it cope with that weight on the road? Well, it's definitely not affected in the performance area, because this car has a seriously impressive 449 PS and 700 Newton meters of torque that go to all four wheels. They're all four-wheel drive, and that instant torque from the motors does give you a strong acceleration pretty much at any speed, and the 0 to 62 time of 4.9 seconds feels entirely believable. It's quick, no doubt, but you always feel in control because you do have that all-wheel drive, so it's not going to be slippery when you get in not so nice conditions. It should handle it at most speeds. Now, the ride quality is one of this car's strong suits. The adaptive suspension, called the CDC, does a great job at soaking up rough roads. It's smooth and quiet in normal and eco mode, and it stiffens up nicely in sport to help manage some of the body roll. However, to me, the steering is still a weak point. Just like many other Chinese SUVs that I've driven, including the Omoda 5 and the JQ J7, it's far too vague for a vehicle of this size. There's not much feedback through the wheel, which doesn't exactly inspire much confidence at speed. Now, I did dig into the settings and I found that you could decouple the steering wheel feel from the drive modes. Setting it to sport permanently has helped a little bit, but it's still not perfect. perfect, but at least it feels a little bit more connected now, and it does actually save that mode as well, so you haven't got to change it every single time. Now, tech-wise, there's plenty to work with. The ADAS features feel comprehensive, from adaptive cruise control to lane keeping assist,
as well as many more. Now, whilst many manufacturers have been turning their backs on chasing the NCAP 5-star in exchange for saving money, Omoda have done the complete opposite, packing the 9 with all the latest kit, and are very confident to achieve the full 5 stars when tested.
So as I mentioned at the start of the video, there's more boot space on offer than in the JQ J7, but how much exactly? Because I was quite disappointed by the boot space in the J7. It was one of the things that really let it down. At 412 litres, it was pretty compact. But this is a very different story. So inside the boot of the Omoda 9, you will find a whopping 660 litres. Now, to compare that to the Tiguan plug-in hybrid, this is a little bigger, but the Tiguan hybrid, that actually only gets 490 litres compared to the 550 or a little bit more than that you get in the standard Tiguan. So this has a lot more boot space than the Tiguan plug-in hybrid. It does have to be noted, there's not much space underneath the boot floor. So underneath here, there's a little bit of storage for your cables, but not much else. So what you see is what you get, and what you do get is a very wide opening. You also have a really practical load area, so it's nice and low, so it's easy to lift heavy items inside, and it goes back quite far as well. So very, very practical, really good for road trips, or if you're going on holiday, you can fit plenty of suitcases in there. And you don't even have to take out the parcel shelf, because you do have a retractable parcel shelf, so rather than take the whole thing out, you can just pop it back and then you can stack things right up to the top. That's very impressive. But it does leave me thinking, if this has a lot more boot space than you get in the JQ J7, does that mean that the rear space has been impacted? Let's find out. Well, on first impressions, these doors open wide, but not the widest. So they don't open at a 90-degree angle, so not quite as good as something like the Nissan Qashqai. But space inside, well, that's much more impressive. I've got lots of legroom, I've got plenty of headroom. Seemingly, I'm sitting down a little bit lower in the back compared to the front. You also have loads of lovely light coming in from that sunroof. This sunroof is 1.4 metres long, so it's bringing in loads of light. And that's just as well, because of the rest of the interior trim, it's all very dark, so it definitely needed that sunroof. I'm glad it gets it as standard. Now, when it comes to amenities, overall, it's very, very good. So in this centre console, you actually have the ability to turn up and down the fan speed. You can't change the temperature, that has to be controlled at the front, but you can control fan speed, and you also have a button for heated seats as well. And then on these doors, you have the same really nice Mercedes-inspired controls. You can't actually use the bottom controller, but at the top, you can tilt your rear seats back, which feels very, very luxurious. This is super comfortable as well. But it is a shame that there isn't any sliding rear bench, although with 660 litres of space, I guess it's not really necessary. You can pull down this armrest and you have a couple of cup holders, but it's pretty much straightforward there. There's no fun gadgets or anything like that. You've got pockets on both the rear of the seats. You also have tons and tons of storage in the doors. You can easily fit a large bottle of water in there, but you don't have any additional storage. So you haven't got any storage or ability to get to the storage in this centre console, which would have been handy. But if you just pop out this little dial down here, you will find a USB and USB-C charger. So the same as the front, you have the ability to have both adapters, which I actually find quite handy for now. When everything goes over to USB-C, maybe it's not quite so handy, but I do like that you have the ability to use both. I, just like I'm sure many of you watching at home, at first was a little bit taken back by the price tag of almost £100,000 for the Omoda 9 from a manufacturer that we've only really just started getting used to. But when you start diving into all the facts and figures of the Omoda 9, it starts to become a very compelling package. And not to mention the warranty, which I haven't yet mentioned. 7 years warranty on the Omoda 9. That's up to 100,000 miles across those 7 years. And actually in the first 3 years, it's unlimited in its mileage. So that's really impressive. When it comes to reported issues, throughout the brand of Omoda and JQ, it's mainly been teething problems when it comes to the infotainment. The DAB seems to disconnect at time to time, and sometimes the systems can be a little bit laggy. But this is things that they're working on all the time. But there hasn't been any major issues announced. And then you have all of the figures. That range of over 93 miles from the plug-in hybrid, not to mention 700 miles when it's combined, and then all of the standard specification you get included. I love that there's no headache when it comes to the Omoda 9. What you see is what you get. You haven't got to pay extra for the sunroof, the premium sound system. It's literally all included in the price. So whilst it may seem a little bit expensive, when you compare it to the rest of the lineup, spec up a Tiguan, even a Kodiaq to the same specification as the Omoda 9, then you'll be paying closer to £55,000. So it's very good value for money, and then you have the additional warranty on top. It's a very compelling package. But let me know, what do you think of the Omoda 9? Do you think it's a compelling package? Is it one of the cars that you're considering? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to give a big thanks to Rayleigh Omoda for lending me the 9 today, and if you did want to test drive it or check it out for yourself, you can do that at Rayleigh and also some of their partner dealers as well. I'll pop all the details in the description box down below. I really hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget, only 0.5% of you subscribed last time, and I want that to be a much bigger figure this time. So please do go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Until next time guys, see you later.